Welcome to the Armchair Fantasy Football Podcast. Here are your hosts, DJ Marcotte and John Soroyce. Enjoy the show.
Welcome back to the Armchair Fantasy Football Podcast, the one and only working class podcast. We are the Blue Collar Ballers, John and DJ. John, how are you doing on this fine Thursday?
Not too bad, I guess. Cold after having, it was 55 degrees yesterday, and now back to the
It was about
20s.
55. Well, we're in the 30s right now, but this is nothing, dude. This is nothing compared to what
it's chilly. It's just chilly.
I still drink iced coffee. I mean,
I'm not freezing.
we're Mainers. We're used to it. So yeah, welcome back. We're gonna get you ready for round two of the playoffs. If you guys are fortunate enough to still be there, I know John and I are, and hopefully you guys are. Speaking of IR, there's a lot of that going on right now, John.
Yes.
So we'll get into news in a second. Until then, if you're interested, and I hope that you are, you can check us out on our Facebook page at Armchair Fantasy Football, on Twitter at Armchair FF Pod. I'm on Twitter at Armchair Kingpin. John is on Twitter at John2977. And as usual, you can email us at armchairfb@gmail.com. You can find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, and Podbean. And you can find our videos on YouTube. Just search Armchair Fantasy Football. And John, I know you're getting us on Twitch, right? That's going to be a thing, isn't it?
Yeah, I'll get us into that. I'm still looking into it, still trying to figure out that whole system, I guess, because I have an account, but I have to create another one because it won't let me add us to that.
Okay, we don't need to know the details, but we know that you're going to get us there,
Yes.
right? Okay. So we're on the cusp of the second round of the playoffs, John. We're also on the cusp of breaking the top 100 for fantasy sports podcasts. And who do we need help from, John? We need help from the Armchair Army, right?
Correct.
We need you guys, the listeners, to advocate for us. Share our content on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. Talk us up on your with your friends and on your networks. And if we can crack, there I did it again, man.
You've been hanging around with me too long.
So if we can crack, we got to change that word. If we can break into, how about that? Break into the top 100. Better. Let's do that, because I can't say it without saying crap for some reason. I don't know why my brain will not allow me to do so. But if we can break into the top 100, one listener, John, will get a free Armchair Fantasy Football t-shirt. All you have to do is leave a review on Apple Podcasts and subscribe. The other way is to be eligible is to subscribe to us on YouTube and leave a comment. As we hit bigger milestones, we'll give out bigger prizes. So let's start a revolution, John, and show all these big-time podcasts with all their money that they throw around and they light their cigars with their $100 bills. Well, we're not those guys. We work 45 hours a week plus. We work hard. We got families. We got kids. We do all that stuff, and we still squeeze in a podcast for you, the listener, to help you win fantasy football championships, and we would love to continue to do so. So help us out, get the word out there, and you can win some free swag as well. Another way you can help us out is our GoFundMe page at www.gofundme.com/armchair-fantasy-football-podcast. If you guys could support us by making a donation and sharing it with your network, we would greatly appreciate it. We know the money can be tight, so if you like what we're doing, please know that even $5 helps us get closer to our goal. I'm really challenging you guys to help us out with this. If you have it to spare, that'd be great. If you don't, just share the stuff that we put out there on social media for our GoFundMe page, and that helps too. That gets more eyes on it, and we would greatly appreciate it. So now that we get all that stuff out of the way, let's get into some news.
We'll start with Mr. Will Fuller was limited on Wednesday, so this is good news for him. His hamstring is feeling better, so it looks like he's on track to play, barring a setback.
That's great for Deshaun Watson. I have Deshaun in my Dynasty League, and I also have Gunter Minshew with a pretty good matchup, and I was kind of scratching my head. I'm like, do I do it? But I think I'd rather go with Deshaun against Tennessee, and Will Fuller being out there makes it that much easier to make that decision.
Correct. Gerald Everett is still sidelined for the Rams. He is considered day-to-day. If he doesn't go, Tyler Higbee, especially with his usage lately, has been actually...
Especially.
Sorry.
We're going to get you there.
Top
I'm going to do it.
10 tight end.
I'm going to do it. I'm a winner. Say it.
I will fix it. It's fine.
All right, I'm a winner.
It's a main thing.
It's not a mean thing.
It's
a New Hampshire thing. It's a Rochester, New Hampshire thing. Just say that. That's good. That'll work. I think it might.
I lived in New Hampshire over 25 years.
You know, my mother grew up in Rochester, New Hampshire.
Did she really?
Fun fact, yeah.
Oh.
Anyway, moving on. Especially.
James Conner and Juju practice in full this week.
But just let me rewind because I went off at a tangent. Because as you guys know, I tend to do that at times. If Everett is active, don't start either of those tight ends. Number one, and who did you just mention? I'm sorry.
Oh, who returned to practice?
Who did you just mention that especially returned to practice?
James Conner and Juju.
Okay, those are interesting notes there. If you own Juju, see, this is interesting, John. I guess we'll touch on it when we get to that game, okay. But this is interesting because Mason Rudolph is not starting anymore.
No.
And I think there may be hope, but I don't think See, the last game that Juju played with Deputy Duck, he didn't play too well in that one, so I'd probably fade him. James Conner, on the other hand, I think you could get a pretty good week out of him this week.
Hope so. He's been out long enough.
I know it.
Christian Kirk was limited with his ankle at practice, so limited is good. It doesn't mean he's out. So yeah. Usually limited means you have a better chance of starting.
Man, I can't wait.
You are as doubtful or questionable.
I can't wait to see Christian Kirk next year, dude. This guy's gonna explode next year. But for now,
Larry Fitzgerald
keep an eye on the injury.
Will help him.
And it might happen. Who knows?
Julian Edelman is dealing with knee and shoulder injury.
Probably because the whole world is covering him at this point.
Like, yeah, no, he's getting a high usage of targets.
It's like he's not getting double coverage. He's getting triple coverage. There's a helicopter in the sky with the spotlight on him.
No, they're gonna say
Jules is getting all the attention right now.
They're gonna say camera.
Yeah, there's a siren going off, like a prison siren, escape siren. There's cameras on him, but I think those might be Patriot cameras. They're on everything.
Julio Jones was limited at practice, and Devontae Freeman was sidelined with his shoulder injury.
As far as I'm concerned, Julio Jones has been limited in the games because he hasn't been very good, and you probably haven't survived him to this point. But definitely interesting there. I would expect him to play, though.
Yeah, I do too.
This was a similar scenario to last week where he was on the injury report, but he did suit up, and I think the same will be the case here. What's the Freeman injury, John?
Shoulder.
Okay, so that's interesting. I'm not starting him anyway because it's the 49ers this week, so it doesn't matter. That's a tree falling in the woods when nobody's there to hear it. In this case, it does not make a sound.
Daniel Jones is still out. Eli is likely to start again this Sunday.
Love, Dr. Jones.
So, Eli, I think he has a good matchup, actually. But I don't trust Eli.
Yeah, he was good, and then he wasn't, and he was Eli. He was Eli.
You watch that game. That offensive line is bad.
But I'll tell you what. He had a pretty sweet matchup. I will say that, but he wasn't playing the Dolphins, so we'll see. We'll see what I think about Eli Manning in a few here.
Derrick Henry hamstring is sidelined Wednesday. He was also sidelined last week, but he still played. So I would just think this is a day of rest for Derrick Henry. I think he'll be fine to play.
He'll be out there.
Mike Evans, on the other hand, will not be. Hamstring, he's out for the season.
That's a bummer, man. I know Jake was so happy that I got bounced in the first round, and he was really kind of talking smack about Pat's team. He basically said he's got a not very good team and got lucky because all of his guys went off just at the same time, at the right time, which I don't know if that's necessarily true. I don't know. I'm not going to break the game down. But, yeah, he was pretty pumped that he wasn't dealing with me. But now he's dealing with Pat, who did just score a ton of points without Mike Evans. That's not a good thing. He's got Mike Williams to slide in there. But, cringe face emoji is what I'm thinking right now. That's a bad deal for all you guys if you had Mike Evans. But there's a couple options there, John.
There is.
On that offense. And I'll let you get into that when we get into that game. But there is another, as Yoda once said.
Damian Williams for Kansas City returns to practice, so there's an upgrade for their running offense.
I'm still not touching any of them, bro. I don't even care what the matchup is at this point.
It's a what's the word I want to use?
Cluster F.
It's more than a running back committee here. It's like a 300-400 monster here.
It's a cluster expletive, is what it is.
I don't trust any you said, but I'm just reporting the news.
Yeah. No.
For the New York Jets, Ryan Griffin has already been ruled out for Thursday. He is their tight end.
Yeah,
and Demarius is doubtful, which means my guess is Le'Veon Bell's also back. Bilal Powell's been ruled out.
You know who they're playing, right?
Yes, the Ravens are going to get crushed.
Sit them all.
So, we don't have to go over that game.
It'll be quick. Baltimore start them all. New York sit them all.
Adam Thielen practicing on Wednesday, but I don't know.
You know what? He's dead to me.
Unless I hear confirmed starting, he's dead to me. Also,
Do you remember when I said we don't talk about AJ Green anymore unless he's playing?
So Adam Thielen's
is in that.
Good, correct. Deleted.
Yeah.
Mark Andrews is questionable for Week 15 against the Jets, which is Thursday night's game. I think Mark Andrews will play.
What if he doesn't? Is it time? Am I finally right about Justice Hill? Probably not. Hey, a man can dream, right?
I think they're just resting him. Last week he trended the same way. He was questionable. He's still playing. I think he'll play against the Jets. I could be wrong. They could use Hayden Hurst too.
Yeah, we'll see. I'll go with you on that one.
Speaking of expecting the
So you're basically saying start him.
I say start him.
Yeah,
Jets are pretty good against the tight end, I believe, too.
So Jets are trash.
Josh Jacobs is expected to play versus the Jags.
This is good. He missed last week. There was concern that he might be out. I've heard from some people the remainder of the regular season.
That was the talks.
Which would be the remainder of the season because Oakland will never make it to the playoffs this year. So there was a chance that he was going to get shut down entirely. So that's good news. Hopefully he doesn't re-aggravate anything here. But yeah,
his MRI came back clean on his shoulder, so that's good.
Yeah, it's easy matchup this week too against Jacksonville.
I can't see
they're terrible. Their defense is terrible.
I can't see him not winning Rookie of the Year, Offensive Rookie of the Year for the AFC.
Yeah, you got me thinking on that one. I'd have to put a little bit of thought into that, but I think NFC is probably DK, and AFC is probably I would say Jacobs. Yeah. And maybe even not. Do they do offensive, defensive?
They do defensive as well.
But those guys definitely stood out amongst their peers so far this year. It's not Monty Burns, that's for sure.
No,
it's not Justice Hill.
It's not Justice Hill either. DJ Chark is not practicing.
That's a bummer, man. But like I said on the last show, obviously D.D. Westbrook would be a must start. And I think Chris Conley could be a solid start, too. It's a good matchup for those guys.
Keelan Cole's interesting, too.
I'm more of a Conley guy. I haven't really seen anything from Cole this year that would indicate that I could start him in the playoffs. But
if it was Foles, I wouldn't say Cole.
We'll get to that.
Yeah, we'll go into it more. So here comes some of the IR news. Darius Geist to IR, MCL.
That's
goodbye.
Homeboy hit IR twice in one season. I mean, that's you got to get a bonus. Is there a bonus built into his contract if you end up on IR twice in one season, do you get like a sympathy bonus or something?
You should get something.
You get like the card, our deepest sympathy, and you get like $50 in there. That stinks though. I mean, Darius Geist,
he's talented.
Everybody knows I'm a big fan of him, and the reason I am is because not only is he a largely talented fella, but he translates that talent to executing on the field, and that isn't always the case. You know, we've seen a lot of talented guys that can't get it done in the NFL, and he was really starting to break through that ceiling. And for him to get hurt again and another injury, MCL, right? That's bad news. And I got to tell you, that's the second to last knee injury he's probably going to have in the NFL, because the next one I can't imagine anybody signing him, to any contract of relevance. It's just a tough situation because he's so talented. He really is.
And he showed in those couple games.
He's more talented than Josh Jacobs. And that's the truth, bro. I mean, anybody that doesn't think so, you need to look it up. Because Darius Geist is legit. And hopefully this is the last time he sees an injury like this. But sadly, John, I don't think that's the case. I think he's just got bad knees. He's got the knees of a 60-year-old man. No offense to any of you guys that are 60. I'm sure you're very
Alshon
virile.
Jeffrey for the Eagles to IR his foot.
Bad news for Carson Wentz. We've seen him perform really poorly without Alshon. Obviously, Dallas Goedert has stepped up. Zach Ertz is Zach Ertz. But you got to have wide receivers to throw to, and Nelson Aguilar's not that talented. And Alshon Jeffrey is. In his absence, we've seen Carson Wentz not perform well. And that pretty much, to me, even against the Redskins, who shut down the biggest fraud in the NFL, Aaron Rodgers, last week. I mean, they've shown that they can perform against quarterbacks here and there, and I wouldn't start Wentz against them.
Marvin Jones.
Without Alshon.
Marvin Jones Jr. to IR.
Marvatron. What happened, man?
This one shocked me. This one came out of nowhere. I didn't hear any issues even with his ankle, but...
Look, we got bounced in the first round. Another situation where an unlucky week, man, where all of our studs just said, no, we're not playing this week. We're not going to work hard this week, or we're not going to show up at all. Adam Thielen, I'm looking at you. And Marvatron, dude, I think, John, we had him the year before. We had him this year. He's just a steady Eddie, man. He's a great football player, and that stinks that he's out for the rest of the year, but he'll be on my radar next year. That's for darn sure. But Kenny Golladay is going to get all the targets here, dude. Even if it is from David. Blah, blah. Stop texting.
I'm not. I'm actually looking up something for football, so we get to the game. So, there.
Deja vu.
So we'll start with the games here first.
We're going
Thursday
into the slate,
game.
the slate, as they say, of games.
Yep. The New York Jets 5-8 will travel to Baltimore 11-2. Let's make this quick.
Start them all in Baltimore. Mark Ingram, if he plays. Mark Andrews. If Mark Ingram doesn't play, fire up Gus Edwards, Hollywood Brown, Lamar Jackson. Unless Lamar Jackson doesn't play, then I would definitely downgrade these guys. But he says he's going to be out there. Yeah, so just start them all. Start Mark Andrews. I even think you could start Hayden Hurst.
I was just going to ask. Hayden Hurst, if Andrews
if you're desperate. If you're desperate.
He's been doing well the last few weeks.
Yeah. But that's an if you're desperate.
Anybody on New York Jets? Anybody?
Nobody.
Okay.
Not one.
That's easy. Let's go into
this
Sunday schedule. Denver Broncos 5-8 travel down to Kansas City 9-4.
So, I think this is going to be a tough go for Mahomes. He's got something going on with his hand, dude. He didn't look himself last week. I'm looking at Travis Kelce as really the only must start in this game because I think Tyreek Hill is going to draw Harris. And I just think this Denver defense is not... They don't get the credit for how good they truly are, John. So, I guess you're starting Pat Mahomes, but... If somebody's got a real, I don't know. Can I tell people to sit Pat Mahomes? Probably not.
No, but
just know that these are the playoffs, and you got to make crazy decisions sometimes. I'll go back to it again. You with Sam Darnold last.
Sam Darnold, Robbie Anderson stack last year got me 80 points. I think it was.
And you had your starting quarterback, if I recall, was Matt Stafford, who is, like him or not, is one of the most productive fantasy quarterbacks in history. The guy's good for $5,000 every year, but you're like, I don't like the matchup. And guess what? Matt Stafford didn't have a good game that week. And
I think he played Chicago.
Sam Darnold went off. And Sam Darnold played Oakland, I think it was. And it just worked out perfectly for you. So that is just to illustrate my point is, do we sit Pat Mahomes? Well, maybe. If you got something better, look at Ryan Tannehill last week.
He's banged up, guys, for one. He's not the same player he has been. Actually, they ranked him, since his return, he is ranked the 17th QB in PPR. That's not good.
It's not, but he's had tough matchups, too.
No, I get that, but here's what we want to give out before you guys make this decision to start Pat Mahomes or not. I wouldn't start him. Denver is 8th best against quarterbacks, as in giving up points.
So
receiver-wise, they are 8th best. So there's your disclaimer.
Yeah, and I think, and that's why I veered toward Travis Kelce, because I think he's going to be hyper-targeted in this game. And I think it's going to be a rough day for Mahomes. And it's in Kansas City, which is helpful. So, go ahead and start him, but just be careful. Be careful. Mahomes only got 21 touchdowns this year, John. And I know he missed a couple of games there.
3 or 4 games.
And I say only. He's going to end up with over 30. But this is the guy that got 50 last year. And that's the regression that we talked about, too, last offseason, that regression is baked into a lot of these players when they have... So next year, there's going to be regression for Lamar Jackson. Back to this particular matchup, like you said, it's a tough matchup. And I'm comfortable with Kelsey, although they're tough against tight ends as well. I'm less comfortable with Tyreek Hill because of the Chris Harris situation. And I'm less comfortable with Pat Mahomes because this defense is as good as it's been in the last several years, and it's always been a good defense. So this matchup really confuses me. This is a tough one for me because I always say start your studs, and I think there is a thought process there that you start your studs, but you also got Ryan Fitzpatrick against the Giants, John. You also got Eli Manning against the Dolphins. You know what I mean? And it's just, to me, those are... You got Gunter Minshew against the Raiders. Those are situations that I might consider putting those guys in over Mahomes. I'm just saying. I'm not saying, but I'm just saying. So I'm going to be non-committal on this one. I understand if you guys are rolling with Mahomes. It is the undeniable Kavorka of Pat Mahomes. So it's kind of the irresistible force versus the immovable object. But you're also risking a Gunter Minshew against the Raiders because we've seen meltdowns in good games from a lot of these backup quarterbacks that inherited, starting roles. So I guess if you put a gun to my head, I'm rolling with Mahomes. You know what I mean? It's a long way to get to that point, but it makes me nervous, and so does Tyreek Hill. But Tyreek Hill, you got to start him because one play is all it takes.
Do you know what matchup I'm looking at? And I don't know if I'm considering this yet, and I'm not considered in Dynasty. Especially the one where we are still in the hunt. Especially. I am actually looking at, in our consolation round for our League of Record, I'm thinking about picking up David Blau.
Blah. So in the consolation round, guys, just so you know, we have the playoff bracket, we have our Roto Championship, and then we have the consolation round, which is a bracket as well. And the winner of that gets to pick their spot in the next year's draft. So we incentivize that so people can keep playing. So that's why when you hear consolation round, you're like, well, what does it matter? You're in the consolation round.
And last year I won the consolation round.
Did you last year?
Yes.
Did you really?
Yes.
No kidding. Oh, who got first overall pick in that one?
I traded them.
Did you trade it to me?
Yes. Oh, yeah. To get Patty Mahomes, and they flipped Mahomes.
I'm so crafty. Anyway.
So,
dude, I probably traded that first round pick for so much. It's not even funny. But anyway, so yeah, that's why John mentioned consolation round. We do incentivize that.
We'll go into Blau more.
So who's your starting quarterback there, John?
I have Mayfield.
Don't you have Rivers too?
Yes.
He's going against the Vikings. So. And Mayfield's trash.
We'll go into the Blau matchup, and I'll tell you why I think I might pull.
Well, you want to jump to it now?
No, we're almost there.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, actually, we are there. We'll just jump into it. Actually, before you go into that, are we starting anybody from Denver? I like.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry. I just
Philip Lindsay here.
Spaced the Denver Broncos.
Do you trust Drew Lock? He's looked good.
I don't. So here you're talking to a guy that doesn't really trust many. I don't trust Aaron Rodgers.
Good point.
So it's really tough to ask me that question. I don't trust Tom Brady. I don't trust Russell Wilson, frankly. I trust Lamar Jackson. I trust the undeniable Kavorka of Pat Mahomes. And I trust Deshaun Watson. And even those guys have clunkers every now and again. So to answer your question, no, I do not trust Drew Lock. Andrew Lock? Is he related to... No.
Wow, you're trying to get him to come out of retirement, Andrew Drew Lock.
I did pick him up.
Yes,
because
I did see that.
Said, what the heck, what if he does come out of retirement? But anyway, back to Drew Lock, not Andrew Luck. He intrigues me this week, but Kansas City, although they're ranked 12th worst against quarterbacks, John, they do have a pretty good pass rush.
Yes,
and their secondary is better than people give it credit for. So I don't love this matchup. So when I sit there and I say they rank 12th worst against quarterbacks, they're the third best against receivers. And who do quarterbacks typically throw to?
Exactly. You got to throw it to somebody.
So for me, I would not even touch him. I do like Noah Fant in this one, John. Kansas City is ranked 7th worst against opposing tight ends. And where they're so good against receivers, you would think it would open it up for Noah Fant.
It should open up for Fant.
So I think he's a good start this week. And yes, Kansas City's not great against running backs. So I think you're good with Phillip Lindsay, but you're looking at more of a safe floor with Lindsay, maybe 10 PPR, but you're looking at a ceiling of 25, even 30 potentially. They could really lean into him, especially if the game script is run dependent, which I think it might be.
Okay, let's go into the Tampa Bay Buccaneers 6-7. We'll go down to Detroit. Lions are 3-9-1. Let's start with the Detroit side. I like Blau this week, but Blau is going to toss some TDs here, and I'll tell you why. Tampa is the worst against wide receivers.
He's going to have some big TDs.
Some big TD. Wow. You got me to say that. I'm not going to finish that.
Man? Dude, you're sick. Why are you going to go there with stuff?
Tampa is also the 5th worst against quarterbacks.
Yeah, Tampa.
And
yeah.
Who has Kenny Galladay? I do in the league of record.
Do, yeah.
So if I match him with David blah blah blah,
and you take Marvitron out of the equation,
Galladay will feast here.
What about Danny Amendola?
Amendola, I believe, when Jones over the target share since Blau has taken over, I believe Amendola was second behind. Actually, it was first targeted wise. Reception-wise, it was second.
I'm just asking you, what about Amendola?
Amendola will be involved, especially with Hawkinson not on IR now. Especially. Killing me.
Sorry, man.
Hawkinson is on IR.
Regardless. It's okay. Yeah, so, Hawk is out. I think Amendola is a sneaky start in this one if you're really, really desperate. I'm not saying go start him over Julio. That's crazy talk. But I think he could be, if you're in a bad spot, and you're one of those teams that just happen to back into the playoffs, I think Amendola is an interesting start here. And I really like Kenny Galladay in this one. But I have a little bit of a concern where he gets double coverage here. So that one makes me a little nervous. What say you on that whole situation, John? Do you think they're going to try to shut him down? Or do you think he's going to feast in this situation?
I think he's going to feast. I know what's going to happen here, though, is Buccaneers are second against the run here against running backs. They are the second best against running backs. You know, 11.3 a game. Bo Scarborough has been efficient, is the word used, but he is not a pass-catching back here, which means McKissick, especially if this team gets behind, McKissick could be used a lot.
Yeah, I'm passing on both those guys.
No, I'm passing on both. Scarborough is what I'm saying.
I'm passing on both of them. I'm not going.
No, I'm not even saying McKissick. I'm just saying here they're gonna. I think this game, both defenses are awful.
So are you illustrating that as a reason to not go with Bo Scarborough?
I'm not going with Bo Scarborough because
okay.
How
you brought up J.D. McKissick, so I don't know if you're trying to say that he's worthy of a start, or if you're saying he's going to get
a desperate
touches
start if you're hurting for a running back that just went the IR or something.
Okay. I'm going to fade the whole run game on either side here. My take on this game, John, is that the Lions are going to play from behind. I think the Bucs are going to get up early because they do have a really good passing offense. The Lions are a wonderful matchup for Kenny Galladay. Chris Godwin.
I disagree on that one.
I don't buy that Darius Slay crap. I think Slay has not been himself this year, and I think why do I keep saying Galladay? I think Chris Godwin has a great matchup here, and I think he's going to get heavily targeted. So it's a similar situation, John, here between Godwin and Galladay. Maybe that's why I keep flubbing up there, because they just lost their competition for targets, their main competition for targets for the rest of the season. Galladay losing Marvitron and Godwin losing Mike Evans. So I think they're both going to feast in this one. I'm a little nervous about who the next man up is. Again, I think it's Amendola for the Lions, but who do you think is going to inherit the... I think it's going to get spread out a little bit, but who's the main person to benefit from Evans being outside of Chris Godwin?
I think Justin Watson.
Okay,
Scotty Miller is just returning.
Yeah.
He just returned to practice since week 12, so he's missed the last 2-3 weeks with a hammy issue. Is he 100%? No, he's returned to practice. Yeah. So we don't know if his injury is 100%. So my guess is he would be limited and used in 3 wide receiver sets. On top of that, Brashard Perryman, yes, he's been involved in all the sets when they play.
That was the other guy, yeah.
But he
really didn't have a lot of volume last week.
No, he's got a high drop rate, too.
Well, that too, yeah.
So that's what scares me about Perryman. That's why last week Justin Watson was targeted quite heavy.
Yeah.
So I think Watson, if you have to start one behind that group, and I'm not saying don't start Godwin here. I'm just saying temper expectations a little bit. I think Slay. I think Godwin will see the targets and volume enough to start him. I really do. I think he sees like 9 receptions for like at least 70 yards. He'll get you 16 points.
I think Godwin's going to
I just don't know if he's going to have a touchdown is what I'm
You're starting Chris Godwin.
No, I'm not saying not to. I'm just saying Darius Slay will match up against him, which means it's either, and I still think it's Justin Watson. If I know more about Scotty Miller, the extent of his injury, how limited he is, I know he returned the practice, but I need to know more if it's going to be him. And this could be an O.J. Howard week.
It could be.
Could be.
He's been showing signs of life.
And they're hurting for
But
help.
I am not putting my fantasy
No.
playoffs on the shoulders of O.J. Howard by any means. However, I will tell you, although I did fade the backs in Tampa, Ronald Jones might be a decent start because this team. So we had some technical difficulties there that you'll probably deal with on audio and video. But as I was saying, Ronald Jones could be an interesting start here, but he's literally splitting carries, John, with Peyton Barber. So I'm a little nervous about it. I do think that Tampa will play from ahead, if that is a phrase. And this Detroit team does give up the 4th most points to opposing running backs. So, again, if you're one of those teams that backed into the playoffs and you don't have exactly the star power that some of the other teams have, Ronald Jones could be a decent start for you.
Okay, next game. Houston Texans 8-5 travel down to Tennessee for 8-5.
All right. So I mentioned Deshaun Watson. I'm definitely starting him. And I think Tennessee, while they're a good defense, John, there's a bit of a mirage there because they have shown in the past that there are definitely chinks in the armor. As far as where they measure up against quarterbacks, John, they're pretty much almost dead middle of the pack. So they don't really scare me much, especially, as you said, with Deshaun Watson and the return of Will Fuller. As far as Will Fuller is concerned, as well as DeAndre Hopkins. Also, dead middle of the pack are the Titans against wide receivers, John, so I'm not too concerned about those guys. I think Will Fuller is more of a throw him in your flex and hope for that huge game type of guy. But I don't trust his health, and I don't trust the fact that he doesn't have those big games every week. So I probably wouldn't start Will Fuller, but he could win you your week single-handedly. I'm just erring on the side of caution on that one unless you don't have better options. DeAndre Hopkins, obviously a must start. The biggest opportunity for the Titans is at the tight end position. They're 6th worst against tight ends. But are you biting on that is my question.
I think if Fuller's back, no, because you have QT who could be involved. You have Kenny Stills. I wouldn't touch it based on that. Not for a championship.
Right.
Or, you know what I'm saying, advance to a championship.
Yep. And then Tennessee's not great against running backs either. They give up the 13th most points to opposing running backs. But again, I just there's the circle. We've talked about the circle of trust. And I just don't have it for any Houston running back. I love Duke Johnson as a player, but I'm not going to bank on him having a huge
But does
week.
his targets go down with Fuller back?
And it could, and not only that, this isn't an easy matchup. It's a light matchup against running back position, but it's not an easy. It's not the top 8 that I talk about.
And this is also for the season ain't over, but they are fighting for number 1 in their division.
Yeah.
So this is a huge game. It's huge divisional rivalry.
So for me, it's
chance it.
I don't know about you, but for me, it's Deshaun. Obviously, and I'm sorry, this is very paint by numbers, but it's Deshaun, it's Hopkins, and to a lesser extent Fuller, as a high upside flex start.
What about the Tennessee side?
Houston,
Derrick Henry.
They're sneaky. They're a sneaky bad defense. You know how we talk about sneaky good defenses, like Tennessee was at the beginning of the season. Houston has this mirage that they're a decent defense. Well, they're atrocious, man. They are the 6th worst team against quarterbacks. They're the 9th worst team against running backs, John. They're the 13th worst against wide receivers, and they're the 8th worst against tight ends. Really sweet matchup for Ryan Tannehill. The guy's on fire, had a great week and a great matchup last week. I look at this game as a shootout. I think this is going to be a high-scoring game. If I had to put an over-under on it, I'd probably put it 55, which I know is really high, but I like this game a lot. Like you said, division rivalry. There are playoff implications on the line here, and neither of these defenses scare the heck out of me, especially Houston. So I think Ryan Tannehill's a great start in this one. Ryan Tannehill is one of those guys that you could scratch your head and say, do I start him over Mahomes this week? He's one of those guys.
It's possible with this matchup.
And it could make the difference between winning and losing. As far as running backs, I think Derrick Henry is huge in this one. I think he'll play. And again, Houston gives up the 9th most points to opposing running backs. He's an excellent start in this one. The question always is, John, is the wide receivers. And there may be a conversation to be had about Jonnu Smith as well.
I think if you're going to pick one receiver, I think the last 2-3 weeks he's shown a decent floor as A.J. Brown now.
I like A.J. Brown a lot. I just doesn't get a ton of targets, and neither does Corey Davis. I think Jonnu Smith is the guy in this one, dude. Do you disagree with that?
No, he's got a great matchup.
Yeah, he does, and I think...
And Tannehill likes him.
And Tannehill loves him, and he's got the athleticism. They're going to be looking for big plays. The guy is a big play waiting to happen. I think he could have a huge game in this one. He could be a decent spot start for you. Because there's going to be teams in the playoffs, John, that are light at the tight end position. And to be honest with you, Jonnu might even be on your waiver wire. So something to think about there. I know he's pretty up and down. He did catch a touchdown last week, John. So he's gotten into the end zone a couple times. I just like the matchup for him this week. I can't start A.J. Brown or Corey Davis in the playoffs. I just can't do it.
Okay. We'll move on. Miami Dolphins, 3-10.
Real quick, I know you hate him, but Deion Lewis, anyone?
No.
Okay. Fair enough. No. I'm not going to fight you on that one.
Miami Dolphins, 3-10, travel down to New York Giants, 2-11.
Dude, I want to say Eli, but he kind of made me look dumb this past week. I mean, it wasn't awful. Darius Slayton had a huge game.
Oh, yeah.
I'm going against Darius Slayton in Dynasty. I told you. What did I tell you, man? Darius Slayton
is sneaky good.
Is good. And he's a guy I'm really excited about in the future. But where are you hanging your hat at the wide receiver position with the Giants this week? Because this is a great matchup, obviously. They give up the 2nd most points to opposing wide receivers.
I think you have to
do the Miami Dolphins.
You have to start Darius Slayton. His upside is huge. He's been seeing the targets. And he's
performed with either quarterback.
Golden Tate didn't really have a good game at all this week. I like Sterling Shepard more than Tate.
I said it last week. I mean, Shepard only caught 4 passes last week, so he didn't have a huge game, but he's got the chemistry with
Eli.
And Eli did throw multiple TDs last week, if I'm not mistaken. So it's not like he had a bad game. I think Eli's an interesting guy to look at this week as well. I don't want to say it because I think it would definitely hurt me in Dynasty, but I think Darius Slayton has another bomb week this week, dude. I like that guy. He's really talented, and he's reliable. He's fast. He's a playmaker. He can take the top off. I love Darius Slayton. I think you look at Darius Slayton's numbers this year. I wouldn't be sure he's not that far away from Odell's numbers this year. Not Odell's Giants numbers, but
no, he's making an impact. Like losing Odell. You remember he didn't completely
we all laughed at this team.
Yeah.
We all laughed at this team. You and I didn't really, because we know sometimes you got to wait and see on how things play out. But a lot of people laughed at this team, and Darius Slayton's like, Odell who? And he's going to say it again this week, in my opinion. What about Miami? I'm starting Ryan Fitzpatrick in this one for show.
Devontae Parker, if he is able to play.
I think he's going to play.
He's in a non-contact jersey right now, but the only thing that scares me, does it re-aggravate this injury? I don't know.
But at least he's he's
limited.
But you can't think you can't put yourself in that box. You can't worry about re-aggravating an injury because what if he doesn't? You know what I mean? You can never really think that way.
I know who you forgot for New York, Saquon, obviously.
Oh, Barkley, yeah, no, obviously I think he's a given. I know he's been disappointing, guys, but because I was like, do I start Devontae Parker over Saquon Barkley in my Dynasty League? My team is that stacked. And I looked and I'm like, Miami. Oh no, I'm starting Barkley. You know what I mean? So don't worry.
It's too good of a matchup.
Yeah, everything will be fine.
So Giants side, not Giants side, Miami side.
Yeah, I think Tannehill. Sorry, not Tannehill. Fitzpatrick, as we said, and Parker, as we said, are great starts. And as I said last week, I don't start anybody but those two.
I agree. Laird is just. Ugh.
He's not a bad pass catcher, but he's Kalen Balazs 2.0. Like, you know, he runs up the middle. It's just like
this Magic has more rushing yards than him.
It's almost like, I don't know, there's an imaginary glass wall there, and he can't break through it. He's not good on the ground. He's decent through the air, but nah, all set. Not in the playoffs, especially.
Okay, next game: Seattle Seahawks 10-3 go to Carolina with Panthers, who are 5-8.
Yeah. I think this is a bounce back game for Wilson. I understand it's not the greatest matchup in the world, but I think he'll be okay. I think you could start him. Chris Carson is a must start in this game. Carolina is an embarrassment against opposing running backs. They are the absolute worst team against opposing running backs, and without Rashad Penny to siphon some of the touches there, John, I think
pure usage.
Chris Carson's going to. I wouldn't be surprised if he got 25 to 30 this week. Regarding the receivers, John, it looks like Tyler Lockett is fine.
They're declaring him fully healthy.
But he hasn't been performing. DK Metcalf, I think, has been more consistent. And, of course, you got Josh Gordon in the mix. I think you have to pick one or the other in terms of DK and Lockett. Carolina's middle of the pack. They rank 14th worst against opposing wide receivers. So which one are you choosing? If you had both, would you start them both?
Oh, no, I don't think I could.
Yeah.
I think Lockett has,
Lockett's due.
He's due. It's, what has it been, 4 straight weeks with subpar numbers.
Yeah.
He hasn't been fully healthy since that injury, whatever it was, about 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And now they're declaring him healthy, so it just tells me he was never playing 100%.
Oh, I totally agree.
And
yeah.
I think that he is, if they're declaring him 100%, I think you're going to see a lot of, this is going to be one of those target weeks for Tyler Lockett. It's going to be like 11.
Yeah.
It's going to be high.
I think, yeah, so I'm glad that we're on the same page on this one. I love Tyler Lockett this week. Like John and I talked about, sometimes you just think guys are due. You know what I mean? They've had a few bad weeks, and they're just due to break out. And that's the situation with Tyler Lockett for sure. I love him this week. And I think DK is a safe start, too. He has been all season pretty much.
Okay, trying to think. Who are you?
I'm just going to let you suffer.
Are you starting any tight ends here on?
For Seattle?
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, I think you could start Hollister. I mean, you own him, right? Don't you own him in a league?
In one of the leagues, yes.
I mean, would you start him? I guess it's a better question for you.
He's been seeing a decent amount of targets, 5 to 6.
He has, and for whatever reason, Russell Wilson is really focused on the tight end position this year and targeted the tight end position this year. And Hollister seems competent. Would I start him in the playoffs? I mean, he's getting 6 targets, probably 7 targets a game. So based on that, at the tight end position, yeah, you could do a lot worse than that from a target standpoint. So if he gives you 4 catches for 50 yards, and then you throw a touch on top of that, yeah, why not? Where does Carolina stand, John, in terms of where they rank against tight ends? Do you have that information?
Yes, they're actually
that's where I would probably draw the line.
6th best against tight ends.
Yeah, so I'd probably fade that. I think DK. I'd actually probably raise DK a little bit in my rankings because of that. I didn't realize that. So yeah, I don't know. That'd be a tough sell for me. But Chris Carson's gonna get all the work here, dude. It's gonna be ridiculous.
Okay, we'll go on the Carolina side. You got to start Christian McCaffrey.
Yeah, I mean that's an obvious one. If you don't start Christian McCaffrey, you better check your pulse. I don't know what you'd be thinking
you
there.
Have to
the guy gets 30 points in his sleep. It's ridiculous.
You have to start DJ Moore.
I cannot tell you how much I love DJ Moore. I love DJ Moore so much. It's the name maybe, but I love him so much that I've considered trading Julio for him. Not straight up, but I love him that much. I think DJ Moore is the next Antonio Brown, but without, the stuff. all that stuff. So yeah, I would definitely start him.
Depending, I think he doesn't play, but Greg Olson will not play here. I think there's a great Ian Thomas matchup here.
So funny story, Corey in our tag team league, him and his buddy, I told them, because he's like, oh, start at tight end. And I'm like, dude, just pick up, you got Greg Olson, he's not playing, just pick up Ian Thomas. I think we talked about this. He didn't even put him in his lineup because he's a dummy. Sorry, Corey. But yeah. This, and to punctuate John's point, Seattle is terrible against opposing tight ends. So I really do agree with you. I think Ian Thomas is a really good start here if you don't have one of those top 3 to 5 guys. I think this is a good matchup all around. Still not starting Kyle Allen, even though Seattle's about middle of the pack against quarterbacks. But DJ Moore's a great start. And I think you could start Curtis Samuel in this one. I think. Maybe. Where do you stand on Curtis?
I say no. I'm just sticking to the big boys.
And again, I'm not committing to Curtis Samuel.
Yeah,
but
McCaffrey.
I think he could have a good game.
McCaffrey, Moore, and Ian Thomas on this one for me.
Yeah.
So next match.
Seattle seems to. I'm just saying, Seattle seems to be giving up some big plays lately.
They're hot and cold lately. Yeah. Like, look at them last time they played the Rams. They basically shut down the Rams, and then this last week they just played the Rams. They got destroyed.
I mean, they allowed Minnesota to put up 30 points. They allowed the Rams to put up 28 points. They allowed San Fran to put up.
And they are in Carolina, not Seattle. That makes a huge difference. They play better at home.
Yeah. No, I think they've been allowing some points and some big plays. So that's where I stand on that one.
Oh, we have a good matchup for you next. Chicago Bears 7-6 travel to Green Bay Packers 10-3. I know who you're not starting.
Well, I'm done right now, so there's no way in where I would ever start Aaron Rodgers. The guy is the biggest fraud in the history of pro sports. So no, I'm not starting Aaron Rodgers, and I'm definitely not starting him because of the matchup. Man, it's a bad matchup. He had a great matchup last week against Washington. Well, not a great one, but Washington's like bottom 12, bottom 13. I think so they're 13th. They ranked 13th against opposing quarterbacks, and Aaron Rodgers couldn't get anything going against them. And it's definitely not going to happen against Chicago. He's going to get beat up in this one, John. He ain't going to like it. Chicago's the 4th best team against quarterbacks, and it's going to get ugly. And I'm nervous about Devontae. I honestly have thought about sitting Devontae Adams for Devontae Parker in the Dynasty.
Do you want to hear my bold take this week?
What's your bold take?
Aaron Rodgers goes off.
No. He doesn't have it anymore, John. When I watch Aaron Rodgers and when I watch Tom Brady, I am seeing the same issues. They're missing open guys. They're not confident in their receivers.
No, and the only reason I say this...
They'd rather check it down.
You know me and my stats. Aaron Rodgers single-handedly owns Chicago. Like, lifetime. He owns Chicago. And they are in Green Bay.
No. So, hold on. The bad man with his discount double check owns the Chicago Bears. This ain't that guy. I'm telling you, this is not that guy. This is a different guy. That's why it's a bold take
for me.
This is like Kang and Cole or whatever those aliens from The Simpsons came down and switched out with like a fake Aaron Rodgers. This guy, whoever this guy is garbage.
No, that's my bold take for the week. I think Aaron Rodgers throws up like 270 yards in 3
games. So I guess that means you think Devontae Adams. So would you start Devontae Adams or Devontae Parker? Asking for a friend.
I personally would start Adams. It's hard to sit Adams with his target usage.
Yeah.
I just think that...
But he had... I mean, look at last week, dude. He laid an egg against the flippin' Washington Redskins, John.
I'm just going by...
Who, need I remind you, is, again, middle of the pack against
Week 1, they played Chicago. That was a tough game. They did win. But I'm just... by trending stats, he owns the Chicago Bears lifetime. I'm not even making that stat up. Look it up later and maybe change your mind, but... I think Devontae is fine to start here. You have to start Devontae Adams. His upside alone, he could break one and just change the game.
Okay, Devontae Adams, week 1, 8 targets, 4 receptions for 36 yards against the Chicago Bears. I'm just saying, dude.
That's one game this year. It's a different game.
It is.
They were also playing in Soldier Field. They were playing in Green Bay.
I'm curious to see what Aaron Rodgers did that week. I gotta fire this up. Hold on, guys. Are you guys ready?
I'm basing it on previous years, too.
You gonna do the drum roll for me, John? No, he's like, no, because I'm not going to like the outcome of this. 18 out of 30. He completed 18 out of 30 attempts, 60% completion rating, 203 yards, and thank God he got a touchdown. He was sacked 5 times. Gonna be ugly.
Okay, we'll see.
I got a tough decision to make. Aaron Jones, however, John, is a must start in this one.
Oh, God. Chicago Bears run defense actually looks better than what it says.
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah, it's... What do you mean? Are you saying they're overrated or underrated?
They're overrated on the run. They actually,
definitely are.
Last year, they were a great run defense. This year, they're middle of the pack, actually lower end middle of the pack. I think you start Aaron Jones here.
Yeah, I think he's a great start in this one. And like you said, they are middle of the pack. And that's about it. The tight ends, nope, nothing to see here.
Okay, Chicago, who are you starting? I think you start Monty.
Monty Burns, huh? What about Tariq Cohen? Flip a coin. I mean, both these guys should have a really good game. Green Bay is the 5th worst team against opposing running backs. I think you start them both.
I think
really
you can too.
As far as you're not starting Mitch Trubisky, and especially given that the Green Bay is actually top 10 against opposing quarterbacks, so fade him. Like I said, great matchup for the tight ends, but who's he? Who is it? You know what I mean? There's nothing there at tight end.
It changes so much,
and it's a tough matchup for Allen Robinson too. I think you could start Allen Robinson just based on volume, but nobody else.
You're just saying temper your expectations. Yeah. I guess a question I have with Wims, Gabriel banged up, does this look like another Anthony Miller week, or saying no because of this defense?
I just don't think. I mean, it could be, but no, I'm not starting Anthony Miller. Okay. Not against this defense.
I'm just asking. That's why.
No, you. Sometimes you'll ask me a question and I want to try to get there and say this is why, but then I'm like, there's nothing there. It's the playoffs. It is the flipping playoffs. I love Anthony Miller, but even last week, a touchdown kind of saved his week. So.
Okay, next game, New England Patriots 10-3, bring their cameras down to Cincinnati 1-12.
Didn't they already bring their cameras down to Cincinnati?
Yeah. So I'm a Pats fan. You got to take some jokes at this. I think it's funny.
You know what? There's a guy, and I'm not even going to mention his name, but I know him. I don't know if you know him, but I've worked with him in the past. And
Shatino?
No, I wasn't going to say his name, but it's not Shatino. Oh. Shatino is, I think, still a loyal listener, so appreciate you there, brother. No, it's a different guy, and I like to poke fun at the Patriots. People hate me because I'm a Cowboys fan, I'm a Yankees fan, I'm a Celtics fan, and I'm a Bruins fan, and a few of those teams are, dynasty teams. So, yeah, and I'm well aware, and I'm a very loyal fan. I mean, these teams have been my teams for as long as I can remember. So I'm a very loyal fan through thick and through thin. And let me tell you, there's been some thin with the Celtics. There's been some thin with the Bruins. And there's definitely been some thin with the Cowboys. So for me, being a Yankee fan, you got to act like you've been there before. And when people make fun of the Yankees, which I can assure you they do, you can't let it get to you, man. You just got to be like, brush that shoulder off, be like 27 times, homie. But this one guy gets real butthurt, man. When I'll put stuff up on the Patriots, like just stuff that pretty much insults the Patriots, but it's not vulgar or anything like that. And he gets really butthurt. It's like, dude, you want to be a fan of the team that wins all the time? You got to act like you've been there before. You can't get all sad when people make fun of your team. You get championships every year. Get over it. Act like you've been there before.
I'm a Boston Red Sox fan, but I'll give you guys credit. You guys just signed Garrett Cole. That is an amazing sign.
I was nervous about it. I was like, is this going to happen?
Well, it went from no to...
I know.
Yes.
To the Dodgers.
Well, Phillies were in the talk, and they were wanting to pay him, but he...
And they just got Didi, so that was,
I was mind blown.
Anyway, that's awesome. Yeah.
Maybe do a baseball podcast this year.
Yeah, but anyway, it's just funny. So you mentioned the whole New England thing, and it's like, you can tell the real fans... Like, I will say this guy's name, Jim Bennett, is like a real fan because he doesn't let stuff like that get to him. Nick Skinsakos is a real fan. These are friends of mine, or ours, I guess. Those are real fans because they just don't let that stuff bother them. They just know that they're getting championships every year. But some people just can't handle it.
Yeah, they handle one loss out of hand.
It's a responsibility. It's easy to be the fan of the team that wins all the time, but it's a responsibility. Now, on to the fantasy portion of the show.
Who are you starting for Cincinnati?
I'm not starting anyone. Nobody.
Okay, that's easy.
So they have all the tape in the world on Cincinnati. You can see Brady's mad because he's pouting on the sideline. Like, he's got pouty face. Like, when I tell my kids they can't do something, he has that look on his face, so you know he's ticked off, and he's just really wants to destroy somebody, and I think this is the week it happens. I'm also going to tell you to start N'Keal Harry this week, because I truly believe that the New England Patriots are starting to understand that they don't have a player outside of Edelman that has a ton of chemistry with Tom Brady.
White.
James White, Julian Edelman, N'Keal Harry, fire those guys up this week, because they're all going to feast. And I'm not saying they're all going to feast in terms of 30 points apiece, but I think N'Keal Harry's getting in the end zone, and I think White and Edelman are going to get uber targeted, and I think you can start Tom Brady this week too.
No Sonny Michel for me. I don't care how good
No,
this
I'm
matchup
passing
is.
on him. I just don't trust him. And I don't think they do either at this point. And the offensive line's not creating holes for him either, John.
Do you think this is the Rex Burkhead narrative? Revenge narrative game?
No.
Okay. I didn't think so either, but I just want to pick your brain and see what he says.
No, I'm good. The only guy in Cincinnati you might be able to start is Tyler Boyd, but I'm probably not
Not taking
going to
that
do
chance.
that. No, not in the playoffs.
Okay, next game.
You guys keep hearing me say that, but that is the difference here. We
It's-
have to look at it from a different angle with a different lens. The playoffs are the
well,
guys that
here's
you
the
know.
implication, guys.
You
for
have
the
to
playoffs.
basically know that they're going to
win or go home.
Right.
Simple as that. That's why you have to make your best lineup this week.
And even then, you don't know. I started Julio Jones in a really good matchup, and he crapped the bed on me. You know what I mean? So Leonard Fournette had a splendid matchup last week, and he stunk for me.
The whole team stunk,
The whole team stunk.
Yeah.
Well, my whole team stunk. Except for Manny Sanders, y'all.
Oh, Manny Sanders had a
I might
good
keep
week.
him.
The Philadelphia Eagles 6-7 go down. The Washington Redskins 3-10.
Yeah. And
Let's start with Washington.
you can lead the dialogue sometimes.
So
you know?
no, I'm fine with that. Do you start McLovin against the Eagles? They're the third
man.
worst against
Yeah, you
wide
start
receivers.
McLovin. Yeah, definitely. He's got touchdown
Even
upside
with
too.
Dwayne Haskins.
Got a touchdown last week, didn't he? It just says McLovin, dude. Do it.
Okay. Who else are you starting from
Like
Washington?
I said, it just says McLovin.
Okay, we'll move on. So on the Philadelphia side, who are you starting? I'm loving Zach Ertz and Dallas
I like
Goedert
both
here.
of them. I like both of them. Start them both. And I think Miles Sanders is a decent start, but he's probably only going to get you 10 to 12.
He's not bad here.
He's probably only going to get you 10 to 12. though.
This is my take on this game. I don't think Nelson Aguilar plays.
No.
Alshon Jeffrey has already gone to IR.
I like Goddard and Ertz. I agree
I think
with
Goddard and Ertz alone get almost 20 targets between those two. I'm being serious.
I don't disagree with you at
Yeah.
all. Yeah. I could see 12 targets for Ertz and 8 for Goddard. I really could.
Question here, though.
Got to throw to somebody.
Divisional rivalry game. Do you have confidence in Wentz, or are you treading lightly because of that?
I'm not starting Carson Wentz.
Okay, move on.
No way.
Quick
dude.
game, love that. Next game, Cleveland Browns 6-7 travel down to Arizona 3-9-1.
The Cleveland Browns have a good matchup here, John. And this was one of those things with Baker Mayfield. I said to everybody, this guy, back when we were talking about how much of a bust he had been, I said, he's got good matchups in the playoffs. Didn't seem to matter last week, though, did it? No. So I'm not starting him this week either, even against Arizona. It is in Arizona, so Baker's actually typically played okay at home. Away, not so much. So I'm not testing those waters. It's a great matchup, but I'm just not doing it. What about Mr. Odell Beckham? This is actually a really sweet matchup for him. I know you're starting Jarvis Landry. Are you starting Odell Beckham here?
No.
Whew. That's cold, man.
No.
6th most points. The Arizona Cardinals give up the 6th most points to opposing wide receivers, John. And they tend to be in high-scoring games also.
I think last week, his little temper tantrum, as we would call them, I think it's going to hurt him for the rest of the season. I think he is slowly going to be phased out. I think he will be out of Cleveland by next year. I think last week was the start of it, and I think his targets are going to diminish. I'm not saying they're not going to give him any. We're already seeing his targets diminish. I think last week was 4 targets, 5 targets, very low.
Yeah.
Or maybe that was receptions.
So for me, Landry, I'm still not starting Beckham. I told you guys I'm probably not going to start him any.
No, he's awful.
He's
this
not
year.
trustworthy. Kareem Hunt, you're starting. Kareem Hunt's gonna have a good game in this one. I I'm guessing you might want to David and Joe.
I was just going to ask you that.
I'm not doing it.
It's the number one matchup against tight ends.
Understand that.
I'm saying no, and here's why.
I'm saying no
This
as well.
is why I'm saying no. He just came back. He has zero chemistry with Baker Mayfield.
Yeah.
Don't trust it.
He could catch a touchdown, but I'm not banking on that.
Landry's got almost the most targets in the last 6 weeks, I believe.
Kareem Hunt. Every time I think of this guy, I get excited. Kareem Hunt.
He won't be there next year.
I love Kareem Hunt.
I'd be surprised.
I know he's a bad dude, but we're talking in terms of fantasy. I just get excited when I think about this guy because the narrative was, oh, he's an Andy Reid system. And he's not an Andy Reid system. He's not going to be the same guy. He's not as talented.
He's electrifying. Doesn't matter.
Is a huge, immense talent, and he finds a way to make plays, and he'll do that against the Arizona Cardinals. The Arizona Cardinals also have a pretty favorable matchup in some areas here. Not great, but middle of the pack. The Browns are pretty much against every position. I think this could be a good Kyler Murray game. Not so sure I want to start him in the playoffs, though. I'm a little nervous about that.
I'm nervous about this.
And I think Christian Kirk, if he plays, is going to have a good game. And I think Kenyon Drake is a good start in this one. But based on usage for David Johnson, I don't know how you could start him. I think he's gone. I think they're phasing him out. I think they're focused on signing Kenyon Drake. And I think David Johnson's
Do you know that David Johnson has been in my keeper lineup, on the bench, and I haven't even looked at him? Right. I don't care how good the matchup is.
You can't.
I can't take that chance. I put him in 2 weeks after he had come back and got zeros. Yeah. I cannot trust him. Yeah. He's actually not even, unless I hear Kenyon Drake is out this week. That's the only way I start David Johnson now. I cannot trust him.
The only must start for me is Kirk if he plays because these guys spread it out so much. But I think you could get a decent day out of Kenyon Drake as well.
Okay, let's move on. The Jacksonville Jaguars 4-9 travel to Oakland Raiders 6-7.
This is another game where I would expect Leonard Fournette to have a big week, but I don't know what happened last week, man. It was just it was vintage Doug Moron. That game was vintage Doug Moron. They abandoned the run. It was just ugly, and Lenny didn't get a lot of targets either through the air. But I think this is a bounce back.
This should be a bounce back week for Jacksonville, guys. Raiders, okay, I'm going to tell you how bad they are. Oakland Raiders defense, they are the second worst against quarterbacks.
Start Minshew.
Start Minshew. They are the 8th worst against running backs. Start Fournette.
Yep.
They are the 7th worst against wide receivers. I say you start D.D. Westbrook here. DJ Chark is not going to play. Sneaky would be Chris Conley.
I think Conley, yeah. Like I said earlier, I think it's Dede and Conley. I think you start both those guys. Oakland's terrible against the tight end, but again, I mean, I just don't trust any of those.
You don't trust O'Leary Rules.
No, I don't trust Nick O'Leary or any of the other scrubs they have at tight end over there. But I do like Gunter Minshew a lot. Yes, we know it's Gardner Minshew. We call him Gunter. I think Minshew Mania returns against Oakland in this one. The Raiders, John, have some pretty good matchups here, too. Is there anybody I'm missing in Jacksonville, you think? Or can we move on?
No. The only chance, like I said, it's a chance, and you would have to be...
So you're telling me there's a chance?
Yeah, you would have to be hard-pressed to start this guy. I think Keelan Cole's sneaky, but I would not start him only if you are desperate.
Yeah, dude, no. So
Listen.
I think Derek Carr's a decent start here. For Oak.
Yes.
I swear to God, I'm not farting. I'm just rubbing up against the chair here.
Love Josh Jacobs here. Love him.
I love Josh Jacobs.
But are you worried that he may be limited because of his shoulder?
No, you can't.
Can't take that chance.
You just got to fire him up. Just the second worst team against opposing running backs. You just got to fire him up. Darren Waller, I love in this game.
11th worst against tight ends.
Yep. Not only that, but he is their go-to guy. So I think Darren Waller's going to have a huge game.
What about Tyrell Williams?
Nope.
Okay, agree with that.
Nope. Can't start him.
Oh, I agree.
Hey, bro. Right here. Circle of trust.
Oh, he's been out of that circle for like 3 or 4 weeks. So let's move on to the next game. Next game is the Minnesota Vikings 9-4. Will travel to LA Chargers, not San Diego, DJ, who are 5-8.
Yeah, I just say Chargers now. Hey, man, I don't like to change, man. You can't change me. Anyway, you can't change Phillip Rivers either, and I ain't starting him in this one. This is not a good matchup for him. And you just don't know. I know Rivers had a good game last week. You just don't know what Rivers you're going to get. I think Melvin Gordon and Austin Eckler come down to earth in this one, but I also think they're good both of them are good for about 10 to 15 in this game, but Minnesota is a tough run defense.
Is this a Keenan Allen week?
This is probably a Keenan Allen week, but I think maybe more so a Mike Williams week. Because I think they're going to need big plays. And Keenan Allen can get those too, but I think both those guys are going to have really good games in this one. Minnesota is the 9th worst defense against opposing wide receivers as well, so that definitely helps. Hunter Henry.
No.
No? He's been a little shaky lately.
Yes. Yeah. Last week was finally a touchdown, but so low at targets. He has a tough matchup here. He's facing the 7th best team against tight ends.
I think he could get you a touchdown.
I think
if you have Hunter Henry, John, you're starting Hunter Henry.
I might start Higbee. If Everett's out. If Everett's out, because I think it's sneaky this week.
Yeah, I'm not in love with Hunter Henry this week.
Neither am I.
So if you have Hunter Henry and another decent tight end on your roster with a better matchup, then you're probably going that route. So, I would start Ian Thomas over Hunter Henry this week. So just to put that into perspective. But you're probably starting Henry if you have him. But I really like Keenan Allen this week. I really like Mike Williams this week as well, John. Oh, jeez. So where are we going?
We were talking about Hunter Henry, but now let's go to the Viking side.
We had to cut for a sec there, guys.
Viking side.
Break the fourth wall on this one. Viking side. You can keep saying it. You're like your kid. DJ. Dude, you got to give me a second to get in there.
I'm no on Kirk Cousins.
See, he doesn't even listen to me. What were we talking about? Kirk Cousins? Yeah, no, I'm not starting Kirk Cousins in this game. There's no way. LA's a give up the third least points to opposing quarterbacks. It's Dalvin Cook. I'm not starting Stephon Diggs. I'm not starting the Phantom Adam Thielen.
I was waiting for a name, and there it is.
That's the name for him. He's the Phantom. Yeah. I'm not starting the Phantom in this one. Maybe Kyle Rudolph, because somebody's got to catch the ball out there. But nah, I'm starting Dalvin Cook, bro, and that's about it. Okay. This is a tough defense. They're the second toughest against wide receivers, man. A lot of people don't realize that. And ain't gonna be a good day for old Kirk Cousins.
They were good.
Captain Kirk.
They were good without the missile. With the missiles back, the missiles during when James guys. Yeah. He's just he's a playmaker at safety.
Yeah.
But I call him the missile because the guy literally throws his body like Ronnie Lott used to. He just throws his body everywhere.
Or like Larry Bird.
Yeah. So next game we'll go into Atlanta Falcons 4-9. We'll visit San Francisco 49ers who are 11-2.
San Francisco. Yeah, I like Kittle in this matchup, John. It's not the greatest matchup in the world for him, but it's not really a bad matchup either. Atlanta's like dead middle of the pack against opposing tight ends. They're not great against wide receivers. I think Emmanuel Sanders is an excellent start in this one, and I think you can start Deebo Samuel too. It was nice to see. You can tell Emmanuel Sanders is healthy. I think it's fair to say that he's healthy at this point, based on that last performance. Homeboy's throwing touchdowns.
What did I say? I think he was not injured the whole time, but not 100%.
Right.
He would come back, and he did. And it showed.
He's excellent, dude, and he's making me think about next year in our keeper league where we keep 4 guys. I mean, I dwindled it down to Julio, Zeke, Kittle, and Devontae Adams. But I'm like, man, I could probably get pretty good haul for Julio. I might want to keep Emmanuel Sanders.
The biggest thing that hurt Emmanuel Sanders was that knee surgery. Everybody thought he wouldn't be the same.
And then he tore his Achilles and came back like the Terminator, like 10 times stronger. We can rebuild him.
Oh, he looks, yeah. I mean, fantastic. So
I love Emmanuel Sanders in this one. I like Deebo Samuel in this one as well. And I really like Jimmy Garoppolo in this one.
What about any of the running backs?
Nah.
Not even Mostert?
I don't know, dude, because then I just assumed Tevin Coleman's going to be a beast this week. I mean, I guess you could start Mostert.
I think only...
He's the hot hand, but it's risky. I'm telling you guys, risky business.
Okay,
like
so...
Tom Cruise.
On the Atlanta side, who are you starting?
Atlanta is a little bit more of an interesting... point of view here because they are facing one of the best, maybe the best defense in the league. San Francisco ranks number 3 against opposing running backs. So I don't care if Devonta Freeman plays or not. You sit him right on your bench where it's safe. They are top 10, top 5 against wide receivers. So they don't give up a lot there. I think they're going to shut down Julio. So I would tell you probably sit Julio. I know you'd think that's crazy, but
I don't.
Then again, so there's no Calvin Ridley. So what I would do if I was San Fran is I would double Julio and let Russell Gage do what he can against you.
Oh no, Russell.
So I think Russell Gage is a really good start in this one.
What about hanging with Austin Hooper?
If he's 100%,
I say no.
I'm cool with him.
No way, not here.
This is a tough matchup.
Third best against tight ends.
Yeah, this is going to be ugly. And Matt Ryan has not been great lately. He's been up and down. But Matt Ryan's also the type of guy that when they get down early, they just give up the run altogether, and he throws a lot. So there's going to be a lot of throwing attempts in this game. But you can't start Matt Ryan. You really can't. I think it's, honestly, on this, are you starting Julio? Yeah, but it could be bad, guys. I'm telling you.
Temper expectations.
It really could be bad for you if you start Julio. I think Russell Gage is the only guy that I would consider a must start in this one because I just think he's going to be open all day long.
Okay, next game. LA Rams 8-5 will head down to Dallas. Cowboys 6-7.
Who? Dallas who? Never heard of him. Is Jason Garrett still the coach?
Yes.
Okay, so the Rams should have a great day here. Jason Garrett is still the head coach of the Dallas Cowboys, inexplicably. The Cowboys at one point, John, this season were a really good defense, and they just keep getting worse and worse and worse. I think they're not listening to their coach. His voice is no longer being heard. And I think there's an element of sabotage here, and it's not the first time that's ever happened. I saw it happen with Wade Phillips when he was the head coach in Dallas. Obviously a different team at this point, but these are hard times for the Dallas Cowboys. They're still pretty good against opposing wide receivers, but as of late, John, they haven't been. So I'm going to go with what's trending right now. And based on that, in their ability to at times give up a big play, I think Brandon Cooks is a pretty good start in this one. I would start Cooks. I would start Cooper Kupp. I would start Robert Woods. I would start all three of them.
What about Gurley?
Gurley, I like Gurley in this one. Again, Dallas they're 19th. They're ranked 19th. So they're slightly away from middle of the pack. They're toward the better end of teams that play against running backs. I don't think it's going to matter because I think they have figured it out in LA. They're like, man, if we give the ball to Todd Gurley a lot, we're more likely to win the game. And I think they're going to do that here. So I think you can start Todd Gurley. And I guess if I'm saying all that, I think you can start Jared Goff. I would just, believe it or not, fire everyone. And that's hopefully what Jerry Jones does after the game.
I like Higbee here.
Higbee.
Dallas is 12th worst against the tight ends.
Yeah, I like
and
Higbees.
without
if Everett is out.
Yeah, if Everett is out and if Van Der Esch is out.
And he might be because he hasn't played in a couple of weeks.
His neck Van Der Esch being out has been a huge, I think.
And Sean Lee's not the same guy.
No, he can't cover like Van Der Esch can.
But even if Van Der Esch is out, if Everett's in there, I'm not starting.
No. I wouldn't start him. I'm based on the fact that Everett's gone.
It hinges on.
Yeah. Yes. If Everett plays, Higbee goes back to the bench or cut. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, so the Rams, John, are pretgoing to against running backs.
Top 10.
And Zeke has been a concern as of late. I mean, he's giving you the points, but it's not pretty. And I think that's going to be more of the same this week. I think he'll catch enough passes. He might rumble into the end zone. He'll get you the 15 minimum that he has been, but he's not giving you the 30.
You got to play Zeke based on the fact that you don't know when that eruption game's coming. It may never come this year,
but he gives you such a safe floor that you're an idiot to not start him.
Amari Cooper. Jalen Ramsey will be covering him.
I'm not starting him. I'm starting Michael Gallup for sure, but I'm not starting Amari Cooper. Jalen Ramsey is a new man since going to LA.
What about Dak Prescott?
No. See, this is the thing. So it's not a bad matchup. It's not a great matchup either. LA is ranked 21st, so they're actually ranked a little spot ahead of Dallas. But Dak just goes into the fourth quarter and he's like, oh, damn, it's the fourth quarter.
I got to play.
I got to start playing football. I don't see a reason to sit Dak John. I mean, he hasn't given me a reason to. So
and that's what I was trending towards.
Regardless of who they're playing against, he hasn't given us that reason.
His stat line won't start off good. I know what you're saying in the fourth quarter, and your stat line is like exploding because
he's like Russell Wilson used to be that way.
Yes. Russell Wilson would give you a heart attack.
And it was like
you'd have 0 from Russell Wilson at the half.
You were so confident going in the fourth quarter, and then all of a sudden he's 30 points in the fourth.
Russell Wilson have like 5 at the half, and
I've literally seen him go from 5 to 30.
And next thing you know, the end of the game, he's got 42 fantasy points because that's Russell Wilson.
And Dak's got that gene in him as well. Okay. So I think you're good to start him.
So
Witten, I mean, this is
no.
Okay. Shut me down pretty quick. It's not a great matchup for him anyway. But.
Buffalo Bills 9-4 will travel to Pittsburgh Steelers. This is the Sunday night game. Steelers
just real quick. I could see the Rams getting to the NFC Championship this year. I'm just going to throw that out there.
Because you know what it is?
They're clicking. Their defense is playing well. Their offense is coming back around. They weren't clicking
at the beginning. Now they're starting to click. And they're doing it in different ways. Have you noticed their run has been reestablished in the last couple games?
Yeah.
So now it's making sense.
If this team had even a Dak Prescott, imagine because Dak shows up when it matters. He doesn't always not enough. It's too little, too late. But he gets it going in the foot. Imagine if Tom Brady, who may be in LA next year, that's where he lives. Just think about it.
Maybe Sean McVay's actually listening to us.
But they're never winning a championship with Jared Goff. That's for sure. That guy's awful.
So
see what I did there.
I will finish off by saying that the Steelers are playing Sunday night against the Bills.
And nobody cares.
Steelers have flipped their season around. I will say this, their defense is the real deal.
We got one more game after that, right?
Yeah. Okay. So let's go into Buffalo. Who are you starting from Buffalo?
Wait. Are we not? So Steelers, are we not talking about that game?
No, Buffalo Bills versus the Steelers. We're going to go in the Buffalo.
Well, there's one more game after that, though, isn't there?
Yeah, that's the Monday night game.
You're confusing me because you said you were going to finish off. Normally, it means the end of something.
No, I haven't even said anything. I said I'm going to finish what I was saying I said.
No, that's not what you said.
That doesn't matter.
I'll prove it.
Now you're taking time off.
It's being recorded. You know that, right?
That's fine. I'm not. You also said Juju would get 200 targets. You didn't. So.
First of all, that was an exemption because of Big Ben. There
was no exemption.
There's the injury exemption.
That's a bet. He didn't get 200 targets.
Well, it's not my fault. Or Juju's, for that matter. It's that idiot Mason Rudolph.
Okay, well, let's go into it. Buffalo side, who are you starting against the Steelers?
This is a tough matchup for Buffalo, man.
I say no to Josh Allen. I say no to Devin Singletary.
This is going to be a defensive battle here.
Yes.
There's no doubt about that. And this is going to be a game where I could see Pittsburgh winning because it's going to be a defensive battle. Really, for me, I think Dawson Knox might have a good game in this one. He could be, again, if you don't have one of those top guys at tight end, he could be a sneaky start here. He had a great play last week, too. I mean, the guy's got skills. But again, that's only if you are in a desperation situation at the tight end position. Other than that, I'm not starting anybody. He's the only guy I would consider starting. I really think this is going to be a defensive struggle. Just to illustrate my point, John, Pittsburgh's top 5 in the top 5 range against quarterbacks, against running backs. They're ranked 21st against the receivers, so they're in the top 12-ish area there. They're just a really good defense, and they haven't showed any signs of slowing down. They do tend to give up points against tight ends. They give up 7.6 points a game to the tight end position, which isn't huge, but there's some signs of life there. So that's why I said maybe Dawson Knox. But this is the playoffs, and I don't trust anybody enough. Not even Devin Singletary. We know I like him, but Pittsburgh just shuts other teams down, man. And they don't let them score points. And you need to score points in fantasy. It's kind of a thing. What about you? I mean, do you disagree with me on that stance of sit the Buffalo Bills?
No. Out of this whole game, the only person I agree with starting this whole entire game from both sides is James Conner.
Yeah, and that I kind of said that earlier. The same situation applies for the Steelers, John. Buffalo is the 3rd best against quarterbacks, they're the 3rd best against wide receivers, and they're the 4th best against tight ends. Sit them all, dude. There's no way I'm starting Juju Smith-Schuster in this one, especially since the game he had with Duck Hodges, he was non-existent with Deputy Duck. And I don't trust James Washington or Deontay Johnson enough to start him in fantasy against a team that gives up the 3rd least points to opposing wide receivers. And I'm darn sure not starting Duck Hodges. This game's gonna be 6-3 at the end of it. and you're not going to want any part of it. James Conner, maybe.
So the last and final game on the schedule, Monday night game, the Indianapolis Colts 6-7 will play New Orleans 10-3.
The Indianapolis Colts just bore me to tears. Drew Brees is going to go off in this game. I'm going to sneeze potentially, so I'm going to let you take it off here.
Drew Brees has been playing out of his mind, so I will say Drew Brees here. Michael Thomas is in for a great matchup here.
Michael Thomas.
Colts
Shakti.
are 8th worst
We'll
against wide receivers, giving up 25 points a game. This looks like to me, would you start Alvin Kamara against the 5th best run defense?
Whew.
No, I'm not.
Again, it looks like they were actively trying to get Kamara into the end zone last week. Inexplicably, they ran him up the middle instead of
outside like they should,
or instead of tossing it, a bubble screen to the outside. So they went about it in a strange way. But I almost feel like they're trying to get Kamara into the
end zone.
And let's remember, John. I think what we all need to do is remember that this guy is not a running back per se. So my question to you, and I know that their seasons have not paralleled this year, is would you sit Christian McCaffrey against the Indianapolis Colts?
No.
So they have a similar skill set. And if you look at the Colts, they happen to give up the 8th most points to opposing wide receivers. Kamara is more of a wide receiver than he is a running back. And I think they're going to try to get him the ball out in space because they need this kid to be confident, John, come the playoffs. And right now, he does not look like he has any confidence. He's a week healthier. I actually think Alvin Kamara is going to have a good game this week. I'm not saying he's going to blow up for you, but I think he's going to get enough volume to provide you a safe floor. That's what I think about Kamara. Okay. So he's a starter.
So you're not worried about the drought since week 3?
Nope.
Okay.
It's going to come around, dude. The squeaky wheel. How many times do we talk about the squeaky wheel?
No, we've talked about the squeaky
wheel.
How
many times do we talk about guys being due? And that's why the Working Class Podcast is different from these other ones. We don't base it just on analytics and numbers and stuff like that.
No, we go with gut feelings.
We go with the gut. And my gut tells me that Alvin Kamara is going to have a good week this week. And I agree with you. Michael Thomas is going to just feast. And Drew Brees is going to have a great week as well. Only concern I have with Brees is it's not at home. So he's kind of a different guy. But I still think he'll be fine. It's a good matchup for him.
It's a dome.
And it's in a dome. And we know he loves the dome. What's Jared Cook's status on this one?
As far as I know, he's ready to play.
I
haven't heard anything on him, so as far as I know, he should play this game.
And he's given you no reason to sit him at this point. He's been on fire. So
I know. Last year, the year before, we'd tell you never to start a Saints tight end since Jimmy Graham.
He's really shown chemistry with Breeze. And I think he's hurting Kamara as much as anything else is.
Well, they never used to use the tight end.
Right.
Now you get Taysom Hill involved.
If you're trying to get cute, Traquan Smith, Ted Ginn, Breeze just doesn't throw the deep ball anymore.
No. You're right. So, he's actually dinking and dunking now.
He's Tom Brady now.
Maybe once every 2 games he'll throw that 50-yard bomb.
And who's going to catch those dinking dunks? Alvin Kamara. Telling you.
Michael Thomas.
And Michael Thomas, yeah. Well, that goes without saying.
So on the Indy side, who are you starting?
For me, I look at Jacoby Brissett as a possible start for you. His receivers have a great matchup. The New Orleans Saints give up the 4th most points to opposing wide receivers. And I think Jacoby Brissett can benefit from that. I don't know if T.Y. is good to go this week or not.
I'm based on T.Y.'s out. I'm based on original news. He's not. I'm going to base it on him being out as of right now.
Yeah.
Because he hasn't practiced. But even if he does practice, question is Zach Pascal?
I would start Zach Pascal because he had a similar matchup last week and he came through for you.
Yep. So, he had like 18 points last week, I believe.
Yeah, he got a touchdown, so he did his thing, man. So I don't see any reason to not give him another shot in this one. It's a great matchup for him. I think they're going to be down early, so they're going to have to throw the ball. So yeah, I like Zach Pascal in this one a lot. I think Jacoby Brissett's an okay start based on the fact I think there's going to be a lot of pass attempts in this game. As far as the running backs, again, another tough matchup for those guys this week, and I'm passing on them.
So if T.Y. doesn't play, do you start Marcus Johnson?
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah, the guy balled out last week, and
Paris Campbell's
again,
out if you guys don't know, guys.
And Paris Campbell hasn't shown anything,
Nope.
despite how talented the guy is. He really hasn't shown much at all. So, yes, I would start him as well. So I think they're going to have to throw the ball an awful lot in this game.
Return of the Mac, I say no.
No, passing on him.
Okay. O'Doyle rules? No, not here.
No, not in this one.
Okay. That ends our...
That concludes our broadcast day.
That is it for week 15, folks.
Yeah, I got some tough decisions too, John. Like you said, I mean, the Alvin Kamara thing, I've got Miles Sanders on my bench. Devontae Adams, I've got Devontae Parker out there. So I've got the legitimate start your stud or, the more analytical start of those two guys that have the much better matchups. And it's going to be right down to the wire for me. I don't know what I'm going to do because, this is a big week for me.
I went a little
in the roto hunt in that league as well.
Dynasty, I don't know if you noticed, I went a little waiver wire crazy. I dumped like 4 or 5 guys.
Yeah.
And I picked, I think all but one I didn't get. And I'm doing it based on the fact that I'd rather have decisions than just
options.
Options. Yeah. Because some of these matchups are so good.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it all hinges on, like,
I'm surprised you found that many viable guys on the waiver wire.
I did. You'd be. I don't know if everybody else has given up. I shouldn't say
I just
given
love
up.
my squad so much.
If I'm going to beat you, it's going to be with a gut call like I did last year.
Well, I'm not looking past Aaron, and I'm projected 30 points.
I don't trust the projections.
Projections are the curse. They're the devil. If you're projected more, you might as well just chalk it up to it.
You might as well. Yeah, most people lose.
That's an L. I'm projected to win by 50. That's an L.
Just don't set your roster to the last day so the projection doesn't count.
I know, bench everybody.
Yeah, and then start at the second. That way you don't read into it.
No, because then I'll fall asleep. And then I'll be starting.
And I can't say I didn't try, folks. I texted him that, and I'm like, Julio's out. Julio's out.
Julio stinks anyway. What the heck's the difference? So anyway, I guess that's it for today, guys. Good luck in round 2 of the playoffs. Or in some leagues they have 2-week play. Like
they have combined points,
and they go to week 17. It's like, come on, child, please. Why would you go to week 17?
Because somebody can't handle a loss after week 16.
Yeah, but there's a lot of guys that big names that get sat and stuff like that. So I guess it tests your waiver wire ability.
I don't know. I don't like week 16. The same thing could happen depending on how good
could,
the team
but it's
is
a lot less likely. And in week 17, we do a battle royal. It's the Roto Rumble, and whoever has the highest points gets the second choice of the draft order next year. So we do a lot of fun stuff to keep people involved at the end of the season. Hopefully your leagues do as well, and hopefully this information that we're giving you benefits you. If not, and you're out and you're pouting, I get it. I've been there. But fear not, very soon we will be kicking off the second season of Armchair Fantasy Football. And we're going to have a lot of cool stuff to get you prepared for next year. And you're going to be way ahead of the curve, way ahead of those other clowns in your league, I can assure you. So stick with us. You're going to love the offseason. I'm telling you guys, you're going to love it. And maybe we'll have some returns here. I'm kicking the tires with our boy Jake. He's getting a little bit more comfortable with fatherhood, so there may be some appearances there, and we're going to open the doors up and get a little diversity going on up in here.
We haven't phoned a friend in a while, but we'll have to do that for our next show.
Yeah, that's actually really excellent. Do you want to try to phone one right now?
Yeah, see if we can get a hold of somebody.
Let's call David Kuchar. He's probably not going to answer.
We've been down to it for a while, guys. I'm just interested.
No, we need to. Yeah, I've gotten good feedback on Fantasy Phone a Friend. So let's see if David Kuchar answers his phone. I guarantee you if he does, it'll be hello, like he's asking a question. We'll see. But he'll probably ghost me like he always does.
Oh no, I'm not on Fantasy.
Oh yeah, yes you are.
Yes, we chose you.
I thought about this as I was.
Oh no. So
I'm at Best Buy computer shopping. I'm like, DJ never calls me. I'm like, oh no.
Oh
no,
yeah.
I picked up already.
Dude, you get the hook was in your mouth. So welcome to Fantasy Phone a Friend. I know you're a big fan of this segment. And on behalf of John and myself, I want to thank you for being probably the most loyal listener we have.
Thank you.
So thank you for that. So I have a question.
I am at Best Buy though, so I do have to speak in muted tone.
You know that you're being recorded right now, so don't be awkward.
Yeah.
Don't be
Many
awkward.
of your listeners have computer advice. They can call me as well.
Don't ghost me like you normally do. I know I'm not in your inner circle anymore.
I normally would have ghosted you, but I was like, no, he hasn't called me in a while. I'm like, it's a Wednesday night.
So we'll keep it brief. Are you in the playoffs in any league, David Kuchar?
I am.
You are. Is it in any of our leagues?
No, not anymore. Aaron unfortunately eliminated me with Slayton on Monday night.
Oh, I know. I got a feeling he's going to bounce me with Slayton next week because I'm so neurotic when it comes to fantasy football. I just assume I'm going to lose all the time. Especially, I just want to emphasize that.
We're working on that.
We're working on that. You're going to...
Especially,
Yeah, you're going to find that I might have corrected John 4 or 5 times on this episode. So, is it Lunchbox's league that you're in the playoffs?
I'm on the brink right now, so I'm teetering.
Oh, you're teethering? Yeah. David likes to make fun of you and your isms, just so you know.
All good.
Yeah, I know. So, who are you starting this week, David? And I'll let you go because I know you got to get a computer for your for your beautiful girlfriend that you're way out of your league on.
Well, thank you. Yes. Well, in the league I'm in with Lunchbox, I have Dak.
Yeah.
Starting.
That's a start. We said to start him on this episode. That's good.
Yep. I have Dak, Julio. AJ Brown.
AJ Brown,
and
yes.
I'm benching. This is a good time to ask while we're on the line.
Yes.
AJ Brown or D.D. Westbrook?
D.D. Westbrook.
AJ Brown.
D.D. Westbrook.
D.D. Westbrook has the better matchup.
D.D. Westbrook, DJ Chark looks like he's going to be out. I would definitely roll with D.D. on this one, but you do what you want.
I'm not a man of matchups, though. But I will also tell you I've lost every single time I play D.D. Westbrook.
Oh, I don't know what to say there.
So the odds are actually in your favor in this one. Hey, you asked, and I said D.D. Westbrook. We'll see how it shakes out, though. Who else you got?
I also have the lowest points for number 1 seed in that league's history, I think.
Oh, so you're lucky.
Yeah, so we're definitely lucky.
Yeah. Who are your backs?
That's a good question.
All right, I'm putting you on the spot. So listen.
It's going to be a bad time. I'm mixing all of my leagues together. Hold on, let me check the app on my phone. You guys can talk amongst yourselves.
No,
right,
we're just going to awkwardly wait for you.
Can you hear me when I talk like that?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, because I was talking into the phone.
You sound lovely. You'd actually be a great guest on the show if you ever wanted to come by.
I don't feel I'm educated enough, but I feel like I'm conversational enough that I can participate in Fantasy Phone a Friend.
This is great.
Maybe this will be my audition.
I love it.
Although your previous auditioners haven't always made it past this point, so I'm a little nervous.
They get fired.
Yes, I don't need any red peanut M&Ms or anything in my chart. But with that,
yeah, shot across the bow at Jake.
Are going to be Fournette and Gordon.
Okay, Fournette has an excellent matchup. Gordon not so much, but should give you a pretty solid floor. That's good.
Well, I won't have much of a choice because you know I don't like running backs.
Yes. Yes.
So Fournette and Gordon were the way to go.
Yeah, definitely. So what about your tight end?
This is going to be a good one. I'm glad I've got Fantasy Phone a friend to count on.
Okay.
Right now it is Jared Cook who scored me most of the season, but suddenly has been helping me in the last few weeks as he has, I'm sure, many of your listeners.
Yes.
My other option is only Kyle Rudolph.
Who's your other option?
Kyle Rudolph.
Kyle Rudolph. I think you're rolling with Jared Cook in this one, my man.
I agree.
Do you think he's going to be healthy, though?
I
haven't been on the news.
All signs point to yes.
Okay.
I also, though, however, I noted that Kyle Rudolph, the matchup for Minnesota's wide receivers is dreadful. So I think Kyle Rudolph could be a safe start for you if Jared Cook is out. But I would definitely go with Jared Cook in that one.
So I think I can present another good one for you two tonight.
All right.
My flex is going to be Michael Gallup, which
Love it.
don't like playing Well, you say that, but I also forgot to mention my other receiver is Amari.
Okay.
So that sounds. So now I've got 2 players on the same team, and this is like my cup and wood scenario in another league that got me in trouble a couple times.
So I'm going to tell you this, and I could be wrong because sometimes weird stuff happens, man. But in my opinion, Amari Cooper, it's not my opinion, it's going to happen. He's drawing Jalen Ramsey, and that dude's been a new man since he's been to L.A., and he's been gloving up wide receivers. I think that opens up Michael Gallup for a lot more targets. I would go with Michael Gallup in that one, and I know that's not popular, but I would still go down that road.
Okay, well then let me present my alternative to really throw you for a loop.
Oh boy.
No, it won't throw you for a loop because I had benched Cole Beasley and BB Westbrook. So, and I played Gallup and Amari Cooper and Julio.
I'm nervous about Julio this week, but I get it. You got to start him. I understand. I just think he's going to get just double covered But I get it. You got to start him. So Cole Beasley's an interesting start, but I'm not starting anybody on Buffalo this week.
Against Pittsburgh's defense?
No, Pittsburgh's lethal. So you could, David, go Gallup and Amari and just cross your fingers and pucker your rear end.
And hope one goes off.
Yeah.
That's what I have been doing, but that means I bench Westbrook.
Yeah. What do you think, John?
I think Westbrook Gallup, but I know that's iffy because he has 2 number 1 receivers,
so you
basically.
think Westbrook Gallup? Well, then go Westbrook Gallup and tell us how it goes.
Well, I got you. I'm going to challenge your sensibilities. I know you don't like defenses in any of your leagues.
Oh, geez.
So
This
let
is
me
going to
throw
be
that
tough.
one at you.
Yeah.
Philadelphia playing Washington.
Yeah.
Or Chicago playing Green Bay.
Chicago playing Green Bay. I would probably take the Washington side of that because Dwayne Haskins probably is going to turn the ball over a time or two.
It's a fair call.
And they
I know you guys don't like to talk defense.
That's okay. And Philadelphia is actually excellent against the running offense. They're pretty good at shutting down opposing running backs as well. So they're crappy against receivers, but it's Dwayne Haskins throwing the ball. So I'd roll that way. But I hate defenses.
Dwayne Haskins hasn't thrown for more than 170 yards. I would take you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
he has not been good.
They're not going to score a lot of points.
Philly's D is good up front, too, and I don't see Adrian Peterson. He's going to get shut down here.
And it's a divisional game. Go with Philly.
It would make sense, but...
Yeah, one would think.
Well, I had your expertise on the line.
We love it, man. Thank you for participating, and thank you for answering the phone.
I'm glad I suggested.
Because I said he's either going to ghost me or when he answers the phone, he's going to say hello like it's a question. He's going to go, hello? And you trumped me on both of those.
You caught me at a weak moment while I was computer shopping, and I was like, I'll just talk to DJ and see what's going on.
Yeah.
And then I wasn't smart enough to connect the dots.
Yeah. Who are you getting the computer for? Do they listen to the podcast? Oh, you are.
No, yes.
Okay. Well, I won't tell her.
Thank you.
She's a lovely lady, though. You're lucky to have her.
She is fantastic.
All right. Have fun at Best Buy. # not a sponsor. And we'll catch you on the flip side.
Yeah. Yes, and next time you call, I can't say first time, long time. So I just want to say first time, long time today.
You can still try to slide it in there. All right. Thanks, bro.
Yeah.
Have a good night.
Bye.
Peace. That was awesome. Thanks for bringing that up, John. So, until next time, David, you did a great job. We love you, and thank you for being a loyal listener. And I'm sure you're going to come across great on the airwaves.
Love the phone
over
friend.
here at the Armchair Studios.
He was actually very.
Something's wrong with your son. Until next time,
okay,
guys.
We'll
I think Caden's
later.
got a pee, so we're going to take off. And good luck this weekend, unless you're facing us. And there's not many people left doing that. So I guess good luck.
Thank you for listening to the Armchair Fantasy Football Podcast. Thanks for supporting the show. Until next time.